Marcus Thompson had been a night security guard for 12 years, but the Riverside Tower project was his first construction site. 42 stories of unfinished luxury condos in downtown. The developer hired him after the third break-in, copper wire thieves mostly. His job was simple: walk the perimeter every hour, check the gates, report anything unusual. The site was massive. A full city block of exposed rebar, concrete floors, and plastic sheeting flapping in the wind. During his first week, Marcus noticed something odd. On the 17th floor, exactly halfway up, there was always a light on. Not the construction lights on timers, a different light, flickering, yellow, like a camping lantern. He reported it. The foreman checked, found nothing. No lantern, no power source on that floor yet. The electrical hadn't been run past the 12th floor, but every night Marcus saw it. 17th floor, eastern corner, flickering yellow light. On his 8th night, he decided to investigate. Against protocol, against common sense, but it bothered him. That impossible light burning in an unfinished room. The construction elevator wasn't operational at night, so he took the stairs. Concrete steps, no railings yet, his flashlight beam cutting through darkness, every footstep echoing up and down the empty shaft. Floor 10, floor 12, floor 15. That's when he heard the hammering, rhythmic, metal on metal. Clang, clang, clang. Someone was working. At 2:47 a.m., on a floor with no electricity, Marcus stopped on the 16th floor landing. The hammering was directly above him now. Steady, methodical, the sound of someone who knew their craft. He climbed to 17. The door to the floor was just a frame, no actual door installed yet. Beyond it, darkness, and that flickering yellow light, stronger now, coming from the eastern corner. Clang, clang, clang. Hello? Marcus called out. Site's closed. You need to leave. The hammering stopped. Silence. Complete silence. No wind. No city sounds. Just Marcus's breathing and his heartbeat in his ears. Then, footsteps. Heavy boots on concrete. Walking toward him. But he couldn't see anyone. The light was there, flickering in the corner, but the footsteps were coming from the darkness between him and the light. Marcus turned his flashlight toward the sound. Nothing. Empty concrete floor, exposed rebar, plastic sheeting. No one there, but the footsteps kept coming. Closer. He could hear the scrape of steel-toed boots, the slight echo of weight on concrete. He ran. Back to the stairwell. Down. His flashlight bouncing wildly. Behind him, the footsteps followed, matching his pace. When he stopped to catch his breath on the 9th floor, they stopped. When he started running again, they ran. All the way down, 17 floors. The footsteps never fell behind, never got ahead, just matched him, step for step, in the darkness behind his shoulder. Marcus hit the ground floor and kept running, through the site, out the gate, to his car. He drove home at 3:15 a.m. and never went back. The company called him the next morning. He told them he quit. They asked why. He couldn't explain it. How do you tell someone that a construction site chased you? That phantom footsteps hunted you down 17 floors of unfinished concrete? 2 weeks later, Marcus got a call from the foreman. They'd found something on the 17th floor. During the day, when the full crew was there, a tool belt, old style, leather worn nearly black, covered in concrete dust. Inside the belt, a name tag, James Rivera, ironworker, 1987. The foreman had done some research. James Rivera died in 1987. Fell from the 17th floor of a different building, 3 blocks away, where Riverside Tower now stands. That building was demolished in 2003. They never found James's body in the rubble, but apparently, he's still working, still on his 17th floor, still hammering away at a job that will never be finished. The Riverside Tower project was completed in 2019, all 42 floors. Luxury condos starting at $800,000. But the units on the 17th floor, they can't keep tenants. People move in, people move out within 3 months. They report the same thing, hammering sounds at night, footsteps in empty rooms, and sometimes a flickering yellow light in the eastern corner, even though there's no lantern there. The building management has stopped asking questions. They just offer discounts now, 20% off for 17th floor units. Marcus Thompson works mall security now, day shift only. He sleeps fine most nights, except when he dreams of concrete stairs going up into darkness and footsteps that match his own exactly. The Westbrook Medical Center expansion was behind schedule and over budget. The project manager, Sarah Chen, was under enormous pressure to speed things up. They were working 24-hour shifts, day crew and night crew, switching at 6 p.m. The night crew was smaller, 20 guys instead of the day shift's 50. They focused on the foundation work, digging, pouring concrete, the stuff that's easier to do when the sun isn't beating down. It was the night crew foreman, Tommy Alvarez, who first reported the smell. Week 3 of the night shift, 11:30 p.m. They were prepping the eastern foundation trench when the backhoe operator Rodriguez stopped working, climbed out of his machine, refused to go back in. "Something down there," he said. "I hit something." Tommy climbed down into the trench, 12 feet deep, walls of dark earth. His flashlight picked out what Rodriguez had uncovered: fabric, old fabric, rotted, and something else underneath. They stopped work, called Sarah, called the police. By 1 a.m., the site was swarming with cops and forensic techs. By 3 a.m., they'd uncovered 6 bodies. By dawn, 11. Mass grave. Old. Very old. The forensic anthropologist estimated 1920s, back when this land was farmland, rural, miles from the city that would eventually sprawl out to swallow it. The medical examiner's office took the remains. The police opened a cold case investigation, but nobody expected answers. These people had been dead for a century. No living witnesses, no records. The county gave permission to continue construction after 2 weeks. The remains were respectfully reinterred at the city cemetery. A small memorial plaque was installed, everything by the book, but the night crew didn't want to come back. Tommy tried to explain it to Sarah. "It's not superstition, it's respect. We dug them up, they were resting, now we're building on top of them." Sarah had deadlines. She doubled the night crew's pay, offered bonuses for finishing the foundation on schedule. Money talks. The crew came back. The first night after work resumed, the accident started. Rodriguez, the backhoe operator, broke his arm. The machine stabilizer collapsed without warning, crushed his forearm against the cab. He swore he'd set it properly. He'd been operating heavy equipment for 15 years. Never had an accident. 2 nights later, Miguel Fernandez fell into the foundation trench, 20 feet deep now, fractured his skull. He told the paramedics that someone pushed him, but he'd been working alone on that section. Security cameras showed no one near him. 3 nights after that, the concrete mixer truck driver, Kevin Park, was found unconscious inside the drum. Somehow, he'd climbed inside. The drum had started rotating. If his partner hadn't heard the muffled screaming, the concrete pour would have killed him. Kevin had no memory of climbing inside. Last thing he remembered was standing outside the truck, filling out paperwork. Sarah shut down night work. Too many injuries, too many insurance questions. But the project was now 6 weeks behind schedule. The hospital administrators were threatening to find a new contractor. She made a decision. She would work the night shift herself, with 5 trusted crew members, volunteers only, triple pay. 5 guys volunteered, Tommy, Rodriguez out of his cast, and 3 others. Good workers, steady. They'd work midnight to 6 a.m., finish the foundation pour, get back on schedule. The first night was quiet. They set up the forms, checked the rebar, prepared for the next night's big pour. The second night they brought in the concrete trucks. 3 trucks, 72 cubic yards of concrete. This was the big one. The main foundation floor. Pour it, smooth it, let it cure, move on. They started at 1 a.m. The first truck backed up to the foundation. The chute extended. Concrete began flowing. That's when they heard the knocking. From below, from underneath the foundation, from the earth itself. Knock, knock, knock. Tommy looked at Sarah. Sarah looked at Rodriguez. Everyone stopped working. Knock, knock, knock. "It's settling," Sarah said. "The earth's settling." But it wasn't a settling sound. It was deliberate, rhythmic, like someone knocking on a door from the inside. They kept pouring. What else could they do? stop now, and the concrete would be ruined. Tens of thousands of dollars wasted. The knocking got louder. Knock, knock, knock. They could feel it through their boots, through the ground, like something was trying to get out. One of the workers, Danny, dropped his shovel and walked away. Just left, got in his car and drove home. The remaining 4 kept working, pouring, spreading, smoothing. The knocking became pounding, furious, desperate. Boom, boom, boom. The ground shook. The concrete rippled. Tommy swore he saw handprints forming in the wet cement, pushing up from below, fingers spreading, trying to break through. Keep pouring. Sarah screamed, "Don't stop." They poured all 72 cubic yards, covered the entire foundation floor, buried whatever was making that sound under thousands of pounds of concrete. The pounding continued until 4:47 a.m., then stopped. Complete silence. The crew finished smoothing the concrete as the sun came up. Nobody spoke. They just worked. Fast, wanting to be done, wanting to leave. The foundation cured over the next week. The main structure went up over the next 18 months. The Westbrook Medical Center expansion opened on schedule in 2021. It's a beautiful building, modern, clean, lots of windows, healing environment. But the night staff has learned not to work on the ground floor after midnight. That's when the knocking starts. From below, from the foundation, from whatever they buried under 72 cubic yards of concrete. The hospital administration denies there's any problem. The night nurses and custodial staff know better. They stay on the upper floors after dark. They take the long way around to avoid the eastern wing's ground floor. Because sometimes, late at night, if you press your ear to the floor, you can still hear it. Knock, knock, knock. 11 voices, knocking in rhythm, asking to be let out. The Pinnacle Residences was going to be the tallest residential building in the state, 68 stories. Glass and steel, premium construction, premium location, premium everything. The tower crane operator was a guy named Derek Moss, 32 years old, licensed, experienced. He'd worked cranes on projects across the country. This was his biggest job yet. Tower cranes are lonely work. You climb up 300 feet before dawn. You sit in a cab barely bigger than a phone booth. You operate controls. You move materials. You work 10 to 12-hour shifts. You climb down after dark. Derek didn't mind the isolation. He liked the view. The city spread out below him. The sunrise, the sunset, the quiet. On the Pinnacle project, Derek's crane was the tallest structure for miles. On clear days, he could see 40 miles in every direction. He started noticing the pattern in his 3rd month. Every night, around 9 p.m., when he was preparing to climb down, he'd see lights in the building below him. The floors that had been completed. Lights turning on in empty units. Specific pattern. Always the same floors, 23, 31, 45, 52. He mentioned it to the site foreman. The foreman checked. No power to those floors after 6 p.m. The breakers were locked off, but Derek kept seeing the lights. Every night, 9 p.m., 4 floors, lights turning on in empty rooms. In his 4th month, something new happened. He was working late, overtime, moving a steel beam into position on the 40th floor. It was 8:45 p.m., darker than usual, overcast, no moon. That's when he saw someone on the 45th floor, just standing there, at the edge, where there was no railing yet, no safety barrier, just open air and a 450-foot drop. Derek grabbed his radio. "Hey, someone's on 45, no safety gear, need immediate response." Static. His radio was dead. Battery full, but dead. He looked back at the 45th floor. The person was still there, facing the crane now, facing Derek. Even from 100 feet away, even in the darkness, Derek could see this person had no face. Where a face should be, just smooth, blank, like an unfinished mannequin. The figure raised one arm, pointing at Derek, then stepped backward, off the edge, into empty air. Derek watched it fall. 45 stories. It should have taken 4 seconds. Instead, the fall seemed to take forever. The figure descending in slow motion, arms spread, silent. It hit the ground. Derek couldn't see the impact from his angle, but he waited for the screams, the panic, the emergency response. Nothing. The site below continued its evening shutdown routine. Workers leaving, gates locking, normal night. Derek climbed down at 9:30 p.m., went straight to where the figure should have landed. No body, no blood, no sign of any impact. He reported it anyway. Site management humored him. Checked the security footage. Nothing on camera. No one on the 45th floor. No one falling. Probably a bird, the foreman suggested. The height plays tricks on your eyes. Derek knew what he saw. That wasn't a bird. The next night, 9 p.m., the lights came on in the empty units. Floors 23, 31, 45, 52, and the figure was back, on the 45th floor, standing at the edge. Derek watched through binoculars this time. The figure was wearing construction gear, hard hat, reflective vest, work boots, but still no face. Just that smooth, blank surface where eyes and nose and mouth should be. As Derek watched, the figure turned, walked to the opposite edge of the 45th floor, and stepped off. This time, Derek kept his binoculars trained on it during the fall. He saw it pass the 40th floor, the 35th, the 30th, still in that slow motion descent, still silent. It hit the ground. Derek climbed down immediately, ran to the spot. Nothing. But the ground was wrong. The dirt looked compressed, compacted, like something very heavy had hit it, but no crater, no disturbance, just this perfect circle of compressed earth. Over the next week, Derek saw the figure every night, sometimes on the 45th floor, sometimes on the 52nd, once on the 23rd, always standing at the edge, always stepping off, always falling in that horrible slow motion, always leaving that compressed circle of earth. He stopped reporting it. People were starting to look at him funny. The site manager suggested he take a few days off, maybe see a doctor, maybe get his eyes checked. Derek didn't take time off. He needed this job. This was his big break. You don't walk away from operating the crane on the state's tallest residential tower. But he started researching the site, the land, the history. The Pinnacle Residences was being built on the location of the old Mercy Heights apartment complex, demolished in 2014. Before that, the building had a different name, the Morningside. In 1987, there was a fire at the Morningside. Electrical fault. Started on the 23rd floor, spread fast. 4 people died. Floors 23, 31, 45, and 52. They jumped, all 4 of them. Rather than burn, they jumped. Nobody remembers their names now. The building was renamed, renovated, eventually torn down. The land sold, new construction, progress. But Derek found their names in old newspaper archives. Patricia Eng, floor 23. Marcus Williams, floor 31. Susan Kowalski, floor 45. David Chen, floor 52. 4 people who chose to fall rather than burn. And now they fall every night, at 9 p.m., over and over, reenacting their final moments on the floors where they died, in the building that no longer exists, while the new building rises around their ghosts. Derek was operating his crane on November 14th when it happened. He was moving a load of rebar bundles, routine work, but the hydraulics failed. The load swung wild. Derek overcorrected. The whole crane shuddered. The cab tilted. Derek looked down, 300 feet down. He saw the figure on the 45th floor, looking up at him, pointing. Then he saw the cable, the main support cable. It was fraying, strands snapping, one by one. Derek grabbed his radio, dead, grabbed his phone, no signal, started to climb out of the cab, but the cable snapped faster. The crane lurched. Derek fell, out of the cab, into open air, 300 feet above the construction site, and he fell slowly, just like the figure, just like Patricia and Marcus and Susan and David. That same impossible slow motion descent, arms spread, silent, watching the ground approach for what felt like minutes instead of seconds. The workers below saw him fall. They said it looked like he was floating, like he was suspended in something they couldn't see, like gravity had different rules for Derek in that moment. He hit the ground at 3:47 p.m., in front of 40 witnesses. The impact should have killed him instantly. Instead, Derek stood up. Broken legs, shattered pelvis, internal injuries that should have been fatal, but conscious, aware, and screaming. "They caught me," he kept saying in the ambulance. "They caught me. They slowed me down. They wanted me to feel all of it." Derek survived. Barely. 8 months in the hospital. 19 surgeries. He walks with a cane now. He'll never operate a crane again. But the Pinnacle Residences was completed. Opened in 2023. Luxury apartments starting at $3,200 a month. Beautiful building. Great views. Modern amenities. The units on floors 23, 31, 45, and 52 are always available. High turnover. Tenants complain about the same thing. Every night at 9 p.m., they hear impact sounds, like something hitting the ground outside their windows. Over and over, every night. Management says it's construction noise from nearby projects. The tenants know better. And if you stand outside the Pinnacle Residences at 9 p.m. and you look up at those 4 floors, you might see lights turning on in windows that should be empty. You might see a figure standing at the edge. And if you watch long enough, you'll see it step off. You'll see it fall. That impossible, slow motion descent. And you'll hear the impact when it lands. That deep, hollow sound. Like something very heavy hitting compressed earth. Derek hears it in his nightmares. That sound. Every night. At 9 p.m. Exactly. I was working security at the Meridian Heights construction site when I first heard the hammering. 3 months into the job and I thought I'd seen everything. Homeless people trying to find shelter in the half-finished apartments. Teenagers looking for a place to get drunk. Once, even a pair of teenagers trying to have sex on the concrete floor of what would eventually be someone's living room. But I'd never heard anything like what started that Tuesday night in October. The site was massive, a 12-story luxury apartment complex that had been under construction for nearly 2 years. We were maybe 70% complete, with the exterior walls up on all. Floors and the interior work happening in stages from the ground up. My shift was midnight to 8 a.m., 5 days a week. The job was simple. Walk the perimeter every hour, check the gates, make sure nobody was stealing equipment or copper wiring. The pay was decent, and most nights I could read or watch movies on my phone in the site trailer. It was 2:47 a.m. when I heard it. A rhythmic pounding, metal on metal, echoing from somewhere in the upper floors. Clang, clang, clang. I paused my podcast and pulled out my earbuds. The sound continued, steady as a heartbeat. My first thought was that someone had broken in, maybe trying to steal tools. I grabbed my flashlight and radio, then headed toward the main entrance. The site at night was a different world. During the day it was chaos. Dozens of workers, the screech of saws, the beep 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 of vehicles backing up, foremen shouting over the noise. But at night, it was a skeleton of shadows and empty space. The wind whistled through the unfinished walls, and every footstep echoed off the concrete. I climbed the temporary stairs to the second floor, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The hammering had stopped. I waited, listening. Nothing but the wind. "Hello?" I called out. My voice disappeared into the vast emptiness. Security. "Anyone up here?" Silence. I continued up to the 3rd floor, then the 4th. No signs of break-in, no disturbed materials. By the time I reached the 8th floor, I was starting to think I'd imagined it. Maybe some metal somewhere had been clanging in the wind. These construction sites made all kinds of weird noises. Then it started again, directly above me. Clang, clang, clang. I froze. The sound was deliberate, purposeful. Someone was up there, working. But that was impossible. The construction crew didn't start until 7 a.m. Nobody had any reason to be here. I climbed to the 9th floor, my heart pounding. The floor was mostly finished, drywall up, electrical boxes installed, just waiting for fixtures and paint. My flashlight swept across the empty rooms, creating grotesque shadows that danced and flickered. The hammering stopped again. "I know someone's up here," I called out, trying to sound authoritative. "This is private property. You need to leave now, or I'm calling the police." A laugh. A woman's laugh, soft and distant, coming from somewhere ahead of me. Every hair on my body stood up. I brought my radio to my mouth, thumb on the call button. The central security office was supposed to be monitoring, but I'd never actually had to call them before. "This is Fernandez at Meridian Heights," I said. "I've got a possible intruder on the 9th floor, requesting police backup." Static, then a crackling voice. "Copy that. Officers en route. ETA, 15 minutes. 15 minutes. I should wait by the entrance, I thought. Let the police handle it. That was the smart thing to do. But something made me move forward, deeper into the darkened floor. I found her in what would eventually be apartment 9C. She stood facing the wall, her back to me, wearing what looked like a construction vest and hard hat. In her right hand was a hammer, which she raised and brought down against the wall in that same steady rhythm. Clang, clang, clang. "Ma'am?" I said, my voice cracking. "You can't be here. This is a restricted area." She didn't turn around, just kept hammering. I noticed now that she wasn't actually hitting the wall. The hammer stopped an inch before impact, but the sound of metal on concrete still rang out clear as day. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." She stopped. Slowly, she turned around. I stumbled backward, my flashlight clattering to the floor. Where her face should have been was nothing, just a smooth expanse of flesh, no eyes, no nose, no mouth. The hard hat sat atop this blank canvas like a grotesque joke. She tilted her head, as if studying me with eyes she didn't have. Then she raised the hammer. I ran. I don't remember making the decision. My body just moved, crashing through the darkness toward the stairs. Behind me, I heard her footsteps, steady and unhurried, and that terrible hammering sound, now mobile, following me. Clang, clang, clang. I hit the stairs at full speed, nearly falling, catching myself on the railing. Down one flight, then another. My flashlight was gone, and I was navigating by moonlight filtering through the unfinished walls and the distant glow of street lamps. The hammering followed me down. Always the same distance behind, never getting closer, never falling back. By the time I reached the ground floor, I was sobbing, gasping for air. I burst out of the building into the parking area, where my breath clouded in the cold October air. I spun around, looking back at the building. The hammering had stopped. The police arrived 12 minutes later. 2 officers, both looking skeptical as I tried to explain what I'd seen. We went through the building together, floor by floor. There was no one there. No signs of disturbance. No footprints in the dust. Nothing. "You sure you didn't fall asleep?" one officer asked. "Have a bad dream?" I didn't answer. What could I say? They left, and I sat in my trailer for the rest of the shift, door locked, lights on, watching the building through the window. At 6:30 a.m., the first construction workers started arriving. I turned in my resignation that morning, but before I left, I asked one of the older guys, a foreman named Eddie who'd been there since the project started, if anything weird had ever happened on site. He gave me a look. "You heard the hammering," he said. It wasn't a question. I nodded. "Her name was Maria Santos," Eddie said. "Worked here during the first phase of construction about 18 months ago. Freak accident on the 9th floor. Load of drywall came loose, crushed her against the wall. Died instantly. Company kept it quiet, settled with the family. But yeah, people hear things. Always on night shift. Always around the 9th floor. Why didn't anyone tell me?" I asked. Eddie shrugged. "Would you have taken the job if we had?" I left the site that morning and never went back. But sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I still hear it. That steady rhythmic pounding, metal on concrete, the sound of someone who died working and never stopped. Clang, clang, clang. My brother Danny got me the job at Blackwood Tower, and Danny died there 3 weeks later. They said it was suicide. Said he jumped from the 15th floor during his lunch break, landed in the foundation pit, where they were preparing to pour concrete for the underground parking garage. Said he'd been acting strange, depressed, drinking too much. Said a lot of things that might have been true but didn't explain the look on his face when they found him, eyes wide open, mouth frozen in a scream. I didn't believe it. Danny had problems, sure, but he wasn't suicidal. He was excited about this job, about the overtime pay, about finally getting his life together. Something else happened up there, and I was going to find out what. That's why I didn't quit like everyone expected me to. Instead, I asked to be transferred to Danny's crew, working under the same foreman, a guy named Curtis Blackwell, who'd been in construction for 30 years and had the scars and missing fingertips to prove it. "You sure about this?" Curtis asked me on my first day. He was a big man, 6'3" and probably 250. with a face like weathered leather and eyes that had seen too much. "Working where your brother died, that's not easy." "I need to understand what happened," I said. Curtis nodded slowly. "Sometimes it's better not to know. Sometimes the truth is worse than the mystery." I didn't understand what he meant. Not then. Blackwood Tower was going to be the tallest building in the city when it was finished. 42 stories of glass and steel luxury condos starting at $2 million. We were working on the upper floors, the skeleton complete, now starting the interior construction. It was dangerous work, all exposed edges and 100-foot drops, but the pay was triple what I'd made at my last job. The crew was small, just 8 of us, and they watched me with careful eyes those first few days. Nobody talked about Danny. It was like he'd never existed, except at night. We were working extended shifts to meet the deadline, sometimes pulling 12s or even 16-hour days. That meant a lot of work after dark, the building lit by harsh temporary lights that created more shadows than illumination. That's when I started noticing things. Tools in different places than where they'd been left. Doors that had been open now closed, or vice versa. And sounds, footsteps on the floor above when I knew nobody was up there. The screech of metal on metal, voices too distant to make out words. "Place is haunted," said Tommy Chen, one of the younger guys on the crew. When I mentioned it, we were eating lunch on the 20th floor, sitting on buckets with our legs. Dangling over the edge, the city spread out below us like a circuit board. "Don't talk about that shit," Marcus Brown snapped. He was the oldest guy besides Curtis, a lean black man with graying hair who'd worked in construction since he was 16. "Nothing good comes from talking about it." "Come on, man," Tommy said. "He has a right to know. His brother is dead," Marcus interrupted. "And talking about ghosts and curses isn't going to change that." "What curse?" I asked. The men exchanged glances. Finally, Tommy spoke. "Every building Curtis Blackwell works on, someone dies. Every single one. 27 projects over 30 years, 27 deaths. Falls, equipment malfunctions, heart attacks. One guy got hit by lightning even though it was a clear day. It's like he's marked or something." "That's ridiculous," I said. But I was thinking about Curtis's words. Sometimes the truth is worse than the mystery. That night, I stayed late. I told Curtis I wanted to finish installing the electrical boxes on the 22nd floor, but really, I wanted to be alone in the building. I wanted to understand what Danny had experienced in his final days. By 10 p.m., everyone else had left. The building was mine. I worked for a while, actually installing the boxes I'd said I would, letting the familiar rhythm of the work calm my mind. But I was listening, waiting for something to happen. It did. At 11:37 p.m., I heard footsteps above me. Slow, deliberate, heavy boots on concrete. I grabbed my flashlight and headed for the stairs. The 23rd floor was dark, the temporary lights not yet installed. My flashlight beam swept across the vast empty space, catching nothing but shadows and structural columns. "Hello?" I called out. The footsteps continued, moving away from me, toward the north side of the building. I followed, my heart pounding. This was stupid, I knew. If there was someone up here, they might be dangerous. But I had to know. I found him standing at the edge of the building, where the exterior wall wasn't yet installed. Curtis Blackwell, staring out at the city lights, his breath visible in the cold air. "You shouldn't be here," he said without turning around. "I could say the same thing," I replied. "What are you doing up here, Curtis?" He finally looked at me. In the flashlight beam, his face was haggard, ancient. "Waiting," he said. "For what?" "For it to choose." A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the wind. "Choose what?" Curtis walked toward me, and I instinctively stepped back. He raised his hands in a placating gesture. "I'm not going to hurt you, kid. I never hurt anyone." "That's not how it works." "How what works?" He sighed, a sound like air escaping from a tomb. "You want to know about your brother? Fine, sit down. This is going to take a while." We sat on the concrete floor, Curtis's flashlight between us, casting weird shadows on our faces. And he told me a story I wish I'd never heard. "I was 23, he began, working my first big job. 30-story office building downtown. I was young, stupid, thought I was invincible. We were working on the roof, no safety harnesses. This was before OSHA gave a shit about construction workers. My buddy Ray, he was standing too close to the edge. A gust of wind came up and he stumbled. I grabbed for him, got his arm, but I wasn't strong enough. He slipped through my fingers and fell. Curtis paused, his eyes distant. I can still feel it, you know. His hand pulling away from mine, the weight of him. The moment I lost my grip. That wasn't your fault, I said. That's what everyone said. Accident, they called it. Tragic, but not preventable. But that night, after they took Ray's body away, I stayed on site, drank a whole bottle of whiskey, contemplated jumping myself. And that's when I saw it. Saw what? The thing that lives in buildings. The thing that feeds on construction, on the act of creation. It showed itself to me that night, told me what it wanted. I wanted to laugh, to tell him he was crazy, but the look in his eyes stopped me. It offered me a deal, Curtis continued. It would make me the best foreman in the business. I'd never have a project fail, never run over budget, never face serious injury or lawsuit. I'd be successful beyond my dreams. But every building I worked on would require a sacrifice. One death, one soul to feed the structure, to make it strong. That's insane, I whispered. Is it? Look at my record. Look at the buildings I've built. They never have structural problems, never suffer major damage even in earthquakes or storms. The Meridian Hotel survived that. Category 4 hurricane without a scratch. The Parkview condos? They're 40 years old and don't have a single crack in the foundation. My buildings last because they're fed, because they're alive. You're saying you killed my brother? That you killed all those people? No. Curtis's voice was anguished. I never killed anyone. The building chooses. I accept the deal. I keep building and it keeps taking. I stood up, backing away. You're insane. You're fucking insane. Your brother knew, Curtis said quietly. He figured it out, started asking questions, researching my past projects. He found the pattern, and when he confronted me, I told him the truth, just like I'm telling you now. I thought maybe he'd understand, maybe he'd just quit and leave. But that night, the building called to him. I heard him on the radio, saying he had to go up to the 15th floor, saying something was calling his name. I tried to stop him, but by the time I got there, Curtis's voice broke. He was standing at the edge, and he looked at me with these terrified eyes, and he said, I can hear it singing. Then he jumped, or fell, or was pushed by something I couldn't see. I don't know anymore. I felt sick. My hands were shaking. Why are you telling me this? Curtis stood up, his massive frame blocking the exit. Because you're asking the same questions Danny asked. Because you're not going to let this go. And because the building has been whispering your name for the past 3 days. As if in response, I heard it. A sound like whine through a tunnel, but it formed words my name stretched and distorted. Mike, Mike. It's choosing, Curtis said, and he looked at me with something that might have been pity. I'm sorry, kid. I really am. The sound grew louder, coming from the floor above us, and I felt a pull, an inexorable magnetic force drawing me toward the stairs. My legs started moving without my permission, carrying me up toward the 24th floor. Fight it, Curtis yelled behind me. Mike, you have to fight it. But I couldn't. The pull was too strong, and part of me didn't want to fight. Part of me wanted to understand, to see what Danny had seen, to hear the song that had drawn him to his death. The 24th floor was incomplete, just a concrete slab and structural columns and the vast open edge where the city glittered below. The wind was stronger here, and I could hear it clearly now, the building singing to me in a voice like grinding. Metal and settling concrete, and the screams of all the people who died in Curtis Blackwell's buildings. It wanted me. It was hungry. And I was walking toward the edge, my feet moving mechanically, unstoppable. Then Curtis was there, his massive arms wrapping around me, dragging me backward. No, he roared. Not this one. You can't have this one. The building's song became a shriek, and I felt rage, ancient and inhuman, wash over us like a wave. The floor beneath us trembled. Somewhere, metal groaned and concrete cracked. I'm done. Curtis screamed into the darkness. You hear me? I'm done. No more deals, no more deaths. This ends now. The shaking intensified. Dust and debris rained down from above. Curtis dragged me toward the stairs, and I felt the pull weakening, the song fading to a whisper. We made it down 5 floors before the building stopped shaking. Curtis didn't let go of me until we reached the ground level and stumbled out into the parking lot. We stood there, gasping, staring up at the dark silhouette of Blackwood Tower against the night sky. What happens now? I asked. Curtis shook his head. I don't know. I broke the deal. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. He looked at me, and in his eyes I saw 30 years of guilt and horror. "You should leave, find a different line of work, and don't ever come back here. What about you?" "This is my curse," he said. "I have to see it through." I left that night and never went back. I found out later that Curtis Blackwell fell from the 35th floor of Blackwood Tower 2 weeks later. They called it an accident, said his safety harness malfunctioned. But I knew better. The building took its payment. One last sacrifice before it was complete. Blackwood Tower is finished now, all 42 stories of glass and steel. It's beautiful, pristine, and by all accounts, structurally perfect. They say it'll stand for 100 years, but I know the truth. I know what lives inside those walls. What hungry thing dwells in the foundation, and the steel beams, and the concrete. I know that every building Curtis Blackwell touched is alive in some way, aware, waiting. And sometimes late at night, when I drive past those buildings, I swear I can hear them singing. There was supposed to be one basement level at the Riverside Medical Center construction site. The architectural plans showed it clearly, one underground floor for parking, mechanical systems, and storage. So why did the elevator have a button marked B2? I noticed it on my 3rd day working as a junior project manager for Hartwell Construction. The elevator was brand new, just installed that week, and when I stepped inside to head down to the basement level, I saw the button panel, L for lobby, 1 through 8 for the floors, B1 for basement, and below that, B2. "Hey, Ramirez," I called to one of the foremen. "Why does the elevator have a second basement button? There's only supposed to be one basement level." Ramirez glanced at the panel, then quickly looked away. "Don't press it," he said. "What? Why not?" "Just don't. It's a mistake. They'll fix it." But it wasn't fixed. A week went by, then 2, and the B2 button remained. I asked other people about it, electricians, the elevator contractor, even my boss, Mr. Hartwell himself. Everyone had the same reaction, a moment of discomfort, a quick dismissal, a change of subject. The more they avoided talking about it, the more curious I became. It was stupid, I know. Classic horror movie mistake. The protagonist investigating the thing everyone warns them about. But I was 24 years old, fresh out of college with my degree in construction management, and I thought I was smarter than superstition. On a Friday night, 3 weeks into the project, I stayed late. Most of the crew had left by 6 p.m., and by 7, the building was empty except for the security guard posted at the entrance. I told him I needed to check some measurements for Monday's concrete pour, and he waved me through without interest. I took the elevator to B1, the legitimate basement level. It was vast and well lit, about half complete, with marked spaces for parking, the mechanical, room visible in one corner, and stacks of materials waiting to be installed. Nothing unusual. I got back in the elevator and stared at the B2 button. My finger hovered over it. "Don't be stupid," I told myself. "It's probably just a wiring mistake. It'll go to B1 again, or just not work at all." I pressed it. The elevator lurched downward. Not the smooth descent of modern elevators, but a grinding, protesting movement that made me grab the handrail. The lights flickered. The digital floor indicator glitched, showing random numbers and symbols. Then the doors opened. At first I thought there had been a mistake, that the elevator had malfunctioned and taken me back to one of the upper floors. I was looking at a hallway, walls of white tile, fluorescent lights, doors with small windows set into them at regular intervals. But it was wrong. The tiles were old, cracked and water-stained. The fluorescent lights buzzed and flickered, some of them dead, leaving pools of shadow. And there was a smell, something between disinfectant and rot, that made my eyes water. I stepped out of the elevator, and the doors immediately closed behind me. I spun around and jabbed the call button, but nothing happened. The elevator was dead. My phone had no signal. Of course it didn't. "Hello?" I called out. My voice echoed down the hallway. "Is anyone down here?" One of the fluorescent lights exploded with a pop and a shower of glass. I flinched, covering my face. When I lowered my hands, I noticed the door nearest to me. There was a small window set into it, reinforced with wire mesh. I peered through. It was a hospital room, or had been. There was a bed, stripped of linens, the mattress stained with something brown and crusty. Medical equipment, outdated by decades, and 4 stand monitors with analog displays, a tray of surgical instruments covered in rust. The next door showed a similar room, but this one had words scratched into the wall above the bed, deep gouges in the plaster. They're lying to us. The third room held a wheelchair, and on the seat was a patient gown, positioned as if someone was sitting there, but when I looked closer, it was empty. I was in a hospital, an old hospital, abandoned and decaying, but that was impossible. The Riverside Medical Center was being built from the ground up on an empty lot. There had never been a hospital here before. I'd seen the site surveys, the soil tests, the historical records. This land had been a park before Hartwell Construction bought it. I walked down the hallway, checking doors. Most were locked, but a few opened to reveal more rooms, each one a snapshot of medical care from what looked like the 1960s or 70s. Old equipment, old furniture, old stains on the floors that might have been blood. At the end of the hallway, I found a nurse's station. The counter was covered in dust and scattered papers. I picked up one of the papers, a patient chart, yellowed with age. Patient 247, male, age 34, admitted for experimental treatment. Procedure 7G, authorized by Dr. Vance. Consent form waived due to patient status. Subject expired during treatment. Cause of death, complications from procedure. Body disposed of as per protocol. I felt cold. I flipped through more charts. They all said similar things. Experimental treatments. Procedures with alphanumeric codes. Patients dying or disappearing. And always that phrase, consent form waived due to patient status. A sound made me freeze. Footsteps, slow and shuffling, coming from somewhere deeper in the basement. "Hello?" I called out, my voice cracking. The footsteps stopped. Then, a voice, weak and distant. "Help me." Every instinct told me to run back to the elevator to find another way out. But I was already moving toward the voice, past the nurse's station, through a set of double doors into another hallway. This one was worse. The walls here were streaked with something dark, and the doors had no windows, just heavy metal with sliding bolts on the outside. Cells, I realized. These were cells, not patient rooms. "Where are you?" I called. "Here, room 13. I found room 13. The door was ajar. I pushed it open, my hands shaking. The room was small, maybe 8 feet by 8 feet, with no windows. There was a bed bolted to the floor, and sitting on the edge of the bed, a man. He looked wrong. His skin was gray, his eyes sunken, his body emaciated. He was wearing a hospital gown that might have been white once, but was now the color of old bone. When he looked up at me, his mouth moved, but the voice came a second later, out of sync. "Please, get me out." "What is this place?" I whispered. "St. Mercy Hospital." He said, "They did things, experiments. We were nobody. Homeless, addicts, they said. No one would miss us." "That's impossible," I said. "There's no hospital here. There was never a hospital here." The man, the thing, laughed, a sound like dry leaves. "They covered it up, demolished it. 1973. Fire. Convenient. Fire. Everyone died. Or so they said. But we're still here. We've always been here." More footsteps, many of them now, shuffling from rooms all along the hallway. Doors creaking open, voices whispering, dozens of them, overlapping. "Help us. Let us out. We've been waiting." I backed away from room 13. The man stood up from the bed, his movements jerky and unnatural, like a marionette operated by an amateur. "You can't leave," he said. "You pressed the button. You came down. Now you're part of it. Part of St. Mercy." I ran, back through the double doors, past the nurse's station, down the hallway toward the elevator. The fluorescent lights were dying now, exploding one by one, darkness chasing me. Behind me, the shuffling grew louder, faster. They were coming, all of them, the patients who died in this place that shouldn't exist. I reached the elevator and slammed my palm against the call button over and over. Nothing. Dead. The fire exit. There had to be a fire exit. Every building has fire exits. I found it at the end of a side hallway, a metal door with a push bar. I hit it at full speed, and it burst open into a stairwell. I started climbing, taking the stairs 3 at a time, my breath burning in my lungs. Behind me, the door crashed open. They were following. Up and up I climbed. B2 to B1 should have been one flight, but I climbed past where B1 should be, and the stairs kept going. I passed a door marked B1, then one marked L, then 1, 2, 3, climbing past all the floors that should exist, until finally I burst out onto the roof of the 8-story building. The night air hit me like a slap. I was on top of the Riverside Medical Center construction site, 8 stories up, the city spread out around me. I collapsed onto the rooftop, gasping, my legs shaking. The roof access door slammed open behind me. But it wasn't the dead patients of St. Mercy Hospital. It was a security guard, flashlight in hand, looking concerned and confused. "Sir, what are you doing up here?" I heard the fire alarm. I couldn't speak. I just pointed at the door, at the stairwell beyond. The guard looked. "Just stairs, sir. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I got to my feet on shaky legs and looked past him. Normal concrete stairs, normal walls, normal lights. No shuffling figures, no decay, no death. I went back to the site on Monday. The B2 button was gone from the elevator panel, just a smooth piece of metal where it had been. I asked Ramirez about it. He gave me a long look. "Told you not to press it," he said. I did some research that week, deep research, digging through newspaper archives and city records, and I found it, St. Mercy Hospital, a private medical facility that operated from 1951 to 1973, on the exact site where the Riverside Medical Center was being built. It had been a place for charity cases, the record said. Homeless people, addicts, the mentally ill. A fire in 1973 had destroyed the building, supposedly killing everyone inside. The whole complex had been demolished, and the city had converted the land to a park. But there were whispers, even in the old newspaper articles. Rumors of unethical treatment, of patients disappearing, of experimental procedures. Nothing proven, all hushed up. They'd built a park over the hospital. Now we were building a new medical center over the park. Layers of forgetting, one on top of another, but the dead don't forget. The Riverside Medical Center opened 6 months later, on schedule and under budget. It's a beautiful building, all glass and steel and modern design. The basement level is bright and clean, full of expensive medical equipment and efficient parking. But sometimes the elevators malfunction. They stop between floors, or the buttons don't respond, or the doors open to show something that shouldn't. Yet be there, a glimpse of white tile and flickering lights and the smell of disinfectant and rot. And sometimes, late at night, the security guards hear things. Footsteps in empty hallways, voices calling for help, the sound of someone screaming, muffled by walls that don't exist anymore. I don't work for Hartwell Construction anymore. I quit a week after my trip to B2. I work in an office now, pushing paper, far away from construction sites, and basements, and the places where the dead are buried, but not forgotten. But I still have nightmares. I dream of pressing that button, of those doors opening, of walking into that hallway that goes down and down, and down past B2, past B3, descending into levels that were never built but have always existed. And in my dreams I can hear them calling, the patients of St. Mercy Hospital, the ones no one missed, the ones who died in the name of progress and science and convenience. They're still there, in the spaces between floors, in the places we built over and tried to forget. And they're waiting for someone else to press the button. Closing. 3 construction sites, 3 different cities, 3 different ways that unfinished spaces hold on to the past. Marcus and his phantom iron worker, Sarah and the foundation that wouldn't stay quiet, Derek and the ghosts who fall every night at 9 p.m. All true stories, all documented, all explained away by reasonable people as coincidence, accident, psychological stress. But the construction workers know, the people who build our cities, they know that some places don't want to be disturbed. Some structures carry memory in their concrete and steel. So the next time you pass a construction site after dark and you see a light where no light should be, and you hear sounds that shouldn't exist, remember, you're not imagining it. The building remembers, the ground remembers, and sometimes what's buried stays busy. Sweet dreams. If you enjoyed this nightmare, subscribe to Fear Feed for more sleepy horrors. We have stories that will haunt your 3 a.m. hours, tales that live in the space between waking and dreaming, and frequencies you'll wish you'd never tuned into. Every week, new terrors. Every night, new voices in the silence. Subscribe now, and remember, we're always listening, always broadcasting, always waiting for you to join the frequency that never fades. Sweet dreams, or whatever passes for dreams when you can't stop listening.